Theatre Company.
The Goats Theatre Company.
My name is Carolyn. I am the artistic director of the Goats Theatre Company. On the line with me is John Collings. Born in Nottingham in 1949, playwright John Collings had his work performed in Brighton, Eastbourne, Manchester, Cambridge and Steyning, and is the winner of the Steyning Festival with his script Barabbas. John stages shows to raise funds for the Macmillan Cancer Support, and you can find more about the project on the Facebook page the Macmillan Cancer Support Theatre Company. John Collings is the author of Mother Talking, a monologue featuring a woman retelling her experiences in a mental asylum, recorded by Melanie Beckley for the Goats Theatre Company, and which is featured in the poetry episode of Play the Goat, Podcast Edition, Series 1. Hi John, so nice to have you on the line today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us more about Mother Talking and what led you to write the monologue.
Well, Mother Talking is about my mother's experience of living with my father and her 3 children. After I was born, she suffered from postnatal depression and spent 6 months in a hospital. She would tell me stories about this period of her life as I was growing up, with me adding to the stories when I became a playwright, which led me to write this monologue.
I've got to get away.
John, what led you to become a playwright?
Well, it was Harold Pinter. In the 1970s, I went to see The Caretaker. And since that day, I wanted to write characters and tell stories like he did. But it wasn't until the 1990s that I started to write.
John, you had another career before becoming a playwright. Tell us about that.
I used to be a photographer, a professional photographer, doing book covers. And what happened was after 16 years, I wanted to work with more people. So I became a counsellor. I was a bereavement counsellor and a mental health counsellor. And I started to work with bereaved people and as a trainee. But then I started to get into writing and started to write. My first play, which I turned into a musical, was based on the grieving process. So that's like another story, but another part of the story, you know.
Some of the women in there thought they'd come for a holiday. The screams in the night. That woman running naked down the corridor.
Well, that colours your writing, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
When I worked on the monologue Mother Talking, I used my particular experience and I took reference from a particular person that I knew. So the story will sound a little bit different from what you have in your mind, now that I know that you have written the piece based on your mother. So it's very interesting to see that a particular text will tell different stories to different people.
I agree. I don't expect it to be anything what I perceived. I was thinking about it yesterday. I was thinking it must have happened about 60 years ago or 65 years ago. And this little piece of paper, it's like my mother's got a chance to talk about what happened to her. So I think that's a wonderful thing. However it comes across, you know, it's her voice really coming from the past.
Then they said it was my turn for the electric shock treatment. I didn't want to have it done. But the nurse twisted me arm up my back and pushed me into the room.
I usually ask playwrights and actors to relate their proudest moment. John, what is your proudest moment as a writer?
Well, my proudest moment was when I won the Steyning Playwriting Festival with my play Barabbas. The reason being was because the judge was Sir Arnold Wesker, a playwright and a friend of Harold Pinter. So I'd sort of come full circle seeing The Caretaker in the 70s and then, sort of winning that competition.
That's wonderful when that happens.
Yeah.
I went for a walk today, to the end of the drive.
What are you doing at the moment, and what is next for John Collins?
Well, at the moment, I'm writing a comedy sitcom entitled Kidnap for a competition organised by the writers of Steptoe and Son. While my fundraising show for Macmillan Cancer Support, entitled The Songs of ABBA and the Beatles, has been put on hold because of the coronavirus. But I'm still managing to have a few of my plays, short plays, performed on Zoom.
Well, that's wonderful. I've seen quite a few people doing that. So I think it's wonderful that theatre keeps on going despite COVID.
When I turned round, I look up at the sky, and in the clouds I saw the face of Jesus. I heard him say, he would help me.
John, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and for allowing the Goats Theatre Company to use your piece, Mother Talking.
It's lovely to be included. You know, it's especially around this time with the virus, it's a lovely morale boost, you know, and gives me something to do and hope.
You can see more about John Collins' work on his Facebook page, the Macmillan Cancer Support Theatre Company. The Goats Theatre Company.
The Goats Theatre Company.